Buying a home is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make, but are you ready for it? Today I'm going to share the top things every buyer should know before they're entering the real estate market. Now stick around because you're going to save some time, some money, and a lot of stress with this information. Before you start popping some champagne, let's get through this list. And if you're a first-time buyer, this is going to be a lot of information. And if you've done this before, this is a good refresher about where you need to be. First things first, know your budget. Get that pre-approval from a mortgage, talk to a mortgage specialist, and be very honest with yourself about what your budget is. And don't forget to discuss things like closing costs, land transfer taxes, moving expenses, or maintenance. Remember, it's not just about the price tag when you're buying a house. We have some long-term costs that need to be considered in this process. This brings us to our second point. When you're going through this process, you want to make sure you get your priorities straight. And this is where people start talking about what do you need to have and what would you like to have. Pro tip here, be very honest once again, especially if this is your first time looking at a home, because when you start seeing what you really want and what you would like to have and then price points, it really puts things into perspective. So make a list, a real actual physical list, and go through what are things you need to have. Bedrooms, bathrooms, size of a home if you have a larger family, location, proximity to work, proximity to schools, school districts, etc., etc. Put that in one list. The other ones are things you'd like to have, but you don't necessarily need. That list is going to be very important, but try to have it as accurate as possible. It's going to change while you're going through the process, but at least have it so you know where you're going from there. So tip number 3, we're going to go to researching the market. Now, markets change all the time, and you're going to want to make sure that whoever you're using as an agent is able to explain to you what the market conditions currently are. Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? What does that even mean? Well, we know, and we can at least discuss it with you to let you know where you're at. It's going to affect your strategy when you know the kind of market you're in, and it'll also prepare you for what you might be encountering in the process of the negotiations. So research your market. It affects your strategy completely, and it'll give you some really good situational awareness. So research your market is my tip number 3. And that brings me to tip number 4, which builds off the last one. When you start understanding your market conditions, number 4 is being prepared for competition and understanding your strategy. See, with hot markets, homes can go really quick and bidding wars are very common. Now, it all depends on your price point, depends on the home you're looking at, but you and your agent will have to discuss your strategy and understand it thoroughly. This is where you need your finances in order, because if you have something that comes up quick and you want to jump on it, you got to be ready. So tip number 4, be prepared for your competition and understand your strategy thoroughly. So tip number 5 is something that's been discussed quite a lot over the last few years, especially during the pandemic when everything was a firm deal or essentially you weren't buying a house. And I'd love to see the data for that because who knows the effect it had on home buyers. Probably substantial. But number 5 tip is get a home inspection. And the best thing I always tell my clients is protect your own best interests. Even if the home looks fantastic, get an inspection. For the few $100s it costs for an inspection, perhaps somebody that has the liability insurance to protect themselves, go through the home to let you know it's fit to live in. It's worth it. Every single time, get the inspection. And sometimes it says, if you have a seller that says, no, I won't accept your offer, even if you're the only one because you want a home inspection, it probably tells you something. So I recommend always getting a home inspection to any of my buyers. Tip number 6, and this one is a big one. Now, most mortgage people go through this with you, but in my buyer's packages, this is always pretty well laid out. But understanding your closing costs, lawyer's fees, land transfer tax. If it's a new home, there's an HST, there's also HST rebates. There are programs for new home buyers. There's a plethora of costs at the end that you don't essentially know are there, especially if you're a first-time buyer. But say you've bought before and you just kind of forgot about that. There's a lot of fees, especially in Southwestern Ontario where I'm at, that are going to be associated with the purchase of a home. So you really need to understand those closing costs and factor them into your financial situation. So for my buyers, this is tip number 7, and that is think long-term. It doesn't matter if it's a real estate investment, if it's your first home, stepping stone, or your forever home. You do want to consider the long-term consequences of every purchase that you make. These are very big decisions. Now, with those big decisions, there tends to be sometimes that sticker shock where you forget to really have that long-term thought, but you need to do it. You need to consider the value of the area, any type of things that may be happening, any developments in the area. Long-term resale value of the home is also very big. Consider the long-term factors before you make any purchase decisions to make sure you're making the right choice for you. And last but not least, the holy grail of all of these tips, partner with the right real estate agent. Yes, I'm a real estate agent, but I'm one of 1,600 agents licensed in the Windsor-Essex area. You have choice. And if you don't choose me, I will promise you, I will give you at least 15 people that I think are absolutely exceptional at this job. Interview your agents. Take multiple that you think might work well with you, bring them in, interview them to make sure that they communicate the way you'd like to, they understand your wants and needs, they understand your best interests, and they are a good fit for you going forward. It's one of the biggest financial decisions you're likely to make, and all of the due diligence is going to pay off in the end. So tip number 8, and the most important, find the right person that represents you the best, and you will likely have a much better transaction. So those are my top 8 things to consider when you're looking to buy a home in Windsor-Essex County, or essentially anywhere. Those are pretty ubiquitous. But what is your biggest question when you're looking to buy a house? Did I miss something? Throw it in the comments if I did. I'll get back to you with some answer on that. I'd love to help you out with it. Now, of course, I am a real estate agent. If you do want me to work with you, the information is downstairs. Have a look. Be more than happy to send it out to you. Any information or any questions that you have, of course, just send it to me directly. I really appreciate you watching this video. This is the kind of things I'm going to be doing in this home office of mine. If you do like everything that you've seen, share it with some friends. We'll have some fun. We'll get some information together. And don't forget, being prepared is going to be your best friend when you're looking to buy a house. Take care, everyone.